Hej, gramy dalej w Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars. Niko zasugerowała nam, żebyśmy poszli do lobby, no i do inspektora. Także najpierw może przejdziemy się na posterunek.
Excuse me, what do you want now?
Pytanie, czego jeszcze nie pokazywaliśmy mu?
Does this matchbook mean anything to you, Sergeant?
That's a double-line Swedish with a crosshatch Bergman strike strip. Now, that's unusual. Pre-war Anderson hinging.
Really?
I haven't seen a reinforced Anderson outside of a private collection.
It's rare then?
In this part of the world, yes. There are only 3 places these are made. Taiwan, Manila, and Slough.
No, czyli trafiliśmy na prawdziwego eksperta.
Does the name Merlin mean anything to you, Sergeant?
Nothing, monsieur?
Maybe not.
Mógłby skonfiskować.
Maybe not. Have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
No, to ważna informacja.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic in the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
What are you going to do about Flap and Guido, Sergeant?
I'm going to bust them, monsieur. For years I have been hoping to pin something on that pair. Now's my chance. I'll show them. And the inspector.
Thanks, Sergeant. Thanks for taking me seriously.
I'm only doing my duty, monsieur.
Ciekawe, czy rzeczywiście ich aresztuje.
I know the identity of the dead guy. His name was Plantau.
Is that so? You knew him, did you?
No, but
We'll know everything there is to know about him soon enough.
I'm trying to be helpful here.
The best way you can help us is to go home, monsieur.
Pewnie w większości spraw tak policjanci by powiedzieli, bo kiedy cywile biorą się za prowadzenie śledztw, no to nie jest to na rękę policji. Często doprowadzają do różnych problemów. Nie wiem, nie znam tego z autopsji, ale w filmach czy serialach to się zdarza.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur.
Skoro już tu przyszliśmy, to z inspektorem też
It's
porozmawiamy.
Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. What now, monsieur?
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
No, monsieur. I suggest you ask Sergeant Moo about that. God only knows why, but he collects matchbooks. He claims it is a hobby.
No tak, słychać było, że rozmawialiśmy z ekspertem.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, monsieur, nothing.
It's another one of the assumed names used by the killer.
Ah, the famous killer clown case.
Yeah. You might have forgotten all about it, but I still aim to find that guy. What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
No, raczej ludzie w barach nie dają czegoś tak cennego, przynajmniej za darmo. Mogło to wzbudzić podejrzenia inspektora.
What do you make of this white powder, Rosso?
It is plaster.
Say, you're good. Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet. I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
No, czyli znany policji, nie tylko z tego, że generalnie jest znaną osobą, ale jednak przestępstwa to jego domena.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram.
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland. Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work, but Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where did you hear of them?
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu.
No tak, no widać było dobrze, kto jest przywódcą, kto jest mózgiem tej grupy.
So long, Inspector.
No, dowiedzieliśmy się jednej istotnej informacji, gdzie przebywa Marquez. I myślę, że to jego śladem teraz podążymy.
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions looked like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint. There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked.
Nie będziemy musieli się dostać do środka. Na szczęście wszystko, co dobre, znajdziemy w szpitalu. Który zresztą wygląda bardzo ładnie. Tutaj widać też dbałość o szczegóły. Może niekoniecznie grafika wygląda na bardziej szczegółową niż ta w niższej rozdzielczości, ale też są cienie tutaj, różnego rodzaju dekoracje, widać też architekturę, także no, kwiaty, to drzewo na zewnątrz jest pełne szczegółów, więc myślę, że grafikę odzwierciedlono tutaj bardzo dobrze.
The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Benny.
Bunny.
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit.
Benny jak bany.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's rib when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not.
Benny jak bany, to taka historia mi się przypomniała, kiedy jechałem pociągiem i była jakaś dziewczynka z mamą i dziewczynka mnie zapytała, bo byłem chyba jedynym pasażerem poza nimi w przedziale, to takie pokoiki, jak mam na imię, no to powiedziałem Tomek, a ona na to Tomek prawie jak domek. Jest to tak samo, jest Benny prawie jak bany.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
No ten przynajmniej miał jakiś powód.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, sir.
No, tutaj się zaczyna trochę w drugiej części gry trochę mniejsza ta kreatywność twórców, jeśli chodzi o odpowiadanie o postaci na poszczególne przedmioty. Bo tutaj widać już w kilku rozmowach było, że albo George nie chciał zapytać o jakieś przedmioty z ekwipunku swojego rozmówcy, albo tutaj nie ma indywidualnego tekstu, tylko po prostu no sir. Wcześniej takie sytuacje się nie zdarzały, tylko za każdym razem mieliśmy indywidualną odpowiedź. No tutaj w kilku momentach jest inaczej.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Także niestety mieliśmy chyba do czynienia z taką najmniej ciekawą rozmową, no poza egzemą, bo to było nawet zabawne.
See you later.
Right.
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything.
A myślę, że to jest taka umiejętność wielu pracowników w przeróżnych firmach, żeby wyglądać na zapracowanego, a robić jak najmniej.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
What does this tool suggest to you?
Is it a crack detector?
Huh?
Polar explorers use them to poke about in the snow.
No.
Ale kreatywna odpowiedź, ciekawy pomysł.
What does this false nose remind you of?
Oh, it's a clown's nose.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a break and go and play with someone else?
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
Tutaj podobny znowu głos, tylko że młodszy, do Madame, do Lady Piermont.
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Have you heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? The kind of place where you get little umbrellas and, well,
Huh? That's romantic?
No ta rozmowa znacznie ciekawsza od poprzedniej.
What does this gem suggest to you?
I advise you not to flash that around. The hospital insurance wouldn't cover it if it was stolen.
Is this plaster any use to you?
I'm allergic to plaster.
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
A kimże ona jest?
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything. I mean everything is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm falls, 6:10 bowel movement, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
To trochę jak w locie nad kukułczym gniazdem.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous. With a big green capital J.
No, może tak być, bo ten tekst wypowiadany w kierunku jakiegoś odwiedzającego szpital, czyli znajomego jednego z pacjentów, bo tak ona w tej chwili myśli, no to takie plotkarstwo już najwyższej próby. Rozumiem, gdyby mówiła takie rzeczy do kogoś, do pracownika szpitala, no ale...
How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Fair left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the Bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
No tak, to była dużo ciekawsza rozmowa z mnóstwem takich interesujących odpowiedzi w porównaniu do tej naszej poprzedniej.
The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time, my patient would have given his right arm for it.
No, to doskonale świadczy o jego fachowości. Mam nadzieję, że żartował, ale nie jestem tego taki pewien.
Do you recognize this red nose, sir?
No, I do not. This is a hospital, not a circus ring. We minister to the sick in body, not the sick in mind.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
No ale czy ja jestem pracownikiem w tej chwili tego szpitala?
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
No, sir, I have not.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, it does not.
Look at this, Doc. It's a genuine medieval type gemstone.
Yes, so I see. Remarkable.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, sir, I do not pretend to know the pharmacist's job.
Thanks for your help.
No dobrze, no jesteśmy po serii rozmów. Zdaje się, że ta strona to będzie miejsce, w które możemy się udać, no bo gdybyśmy poszli tam, to za chwilę byśmy powrócili.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Ciekawe rzeźby. Wygląda jak rzeźba Posejdona trochę.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
No tylko zastanawiam się, co Poseidon mógłby mieć wspólnego ze szpitalem.
There was no way I could improve on the sculpture with the janitor watching me.
Jest i siostra Grendel.
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception? I've come all the way from California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital. You will have to leave.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I don't recognize it.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Oh dear. I don't think he'll be needing that again.
Who?
Monsieur Boissy, the comatose clown.
Do you recognize this tissue?
No, I don't. It looks like a chronic health risk to me.
Well, I've been carrying it around for days and I'm okay. My pocket's getting a little soggy. Would you like to shake hands with me?
Well,
No, it's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway.
Lepiej nie.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
no, I don't.
Does this mean anything to you?
The Club Alamut? I've never heard of it.
Do you know Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No, I don't.
To ona nie wie, że ten pacjent wykrzykiwał imię Merlin, czy nazwisko Merlin. No, może nie w jej obecności.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
Is this plaster any use to you?
No, it isn't.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
Czyli to raczej nie ten klaun odpowiedzialny za zamach. Nie mógłby być raczej w 2 miejscach równocześnie, chyba że potajemnie opuścił szpital, nikt tego nie zauważył.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
No tak. A zresztą to wiemy, że Khan jest klaunem. No.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
You can tell me how my brother is, can't you?
Of course, monsieur. What is his name?
Jacques Marquet.
Let me see. He's satisfactory.
I was told he was dying.
Well, he is, but the doctor described his condition as satisfactory. That's quite an improvement on yesterday.
Satisfactory bardziej mi to brzmi jako satysfakcjonujący, ale może to jest odpowiednik polskiego stabilny. No, stabilny może być, ale może być też ciężki jednocześnie, więc to o niczym nie świadczy.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Thank you, nurse.
You may come back at visiting time, monsieur.
Thanks. When is that?
The second Tuesday of each month.
Oho, no to nie za często. 1 dzień w miesiącu? Tak, bo z tymi Stanami to tak krytyczny brzmi niby najgorzej, ale w zasadzie krytyczny to jest chyba mniej taki ciężki od ciężkiego. No bo ciężki no to już jest taki stan, że no, wiadomo, że pacjent jest w stanie złym. Krytyczny wydaje się taki, że może to pójść w dwie strony. Albo właśnie w stan ciężki, albo może nastąpić poprawa. Krytyczny to jest jakby taki stan decydujący. Ja tak to rozumiem. Czyli taki moment, że wszystko się decyduje, bo chyba nie może być stan krytyczny, ale stabilny, a ciężki, ale stabilny może być. Ale mniejsza już z tym. Porozmawiajmy z woźnym.
He looked blissfully happy for no apparent reason.
Hello. What's that?
I said, hello,
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Would this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's. What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C and a side order of machine oil.
A może bez tego oleju silnikowego. Widać, że coś chyba jest nie tak z jego psychiką.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No.
Would you like to shake my hand?
Not until I've washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs and fungal infections.
Czy można złapać pielęgniarki, aż się boję pomyśleć, w jakim sensie on to mówił. Znaczy George to zasugerował.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never ever play with matches.
I know that, but
People get hurt when they do.
sure,
You end up in hospital like the burger lady. She was so burned up they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh, boy. What is it?
A priceless gemstone found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewellery.
If this gem was yours, you'd be able to buy 100 Mr. Shinies.
Don't be silly. There's only one Mr. Shiny.
No, nie było to rozsądne. Ta propozycja nie powinna paść. Zaprowadź mnie do marketa, jest twój. Po pierwsze, to jest dowód w sprawie, więc myślę, że jeszcze mógłby się przydać George'owi. No a po drugie jest chyba bardzo cenny.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mopfoot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Z całą pewnością przejechałbyś ich tym.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now. Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard.
On bardziej wygląda na pacjenta szpitala niż na osobę tutaj pracującą, tylko że szpitala, myślę, psychiatrycznego.
I wasn't in the mood for shining floors.
Nie wpuści nas tam, musimy coś wymyślić.
I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors. Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar. As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Na co czekasz, George? Oczywiście poszedł naokoło, nie? Bo czemu miałby najkrótszą drogą?
Dr. Stobart at your service.
A George zamiast od razu otworzyć szafkę, to czekał, aż on włączy wtyczkę z powrotem. Zostaliśmy lekarzami. Jesteśmy nowo zatrudnionym lekarzem chyba.
Excuse me, sir.
You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Super, będzie miał się od kogo uczyć.
So long, Hagenmeyer.
Prawdziwego lekarskiego, medycznego fachu.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney.
Tak, swoją drogą to jest ciekawe, że George wcześniej rozmawiał z nimi jako cywil, jako odwiedzająca osoba tutaj niepracująca i chyba nikt tego nie pamięta, bo teraz wszyscy go traktują jako lekarza.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
Eye surgery.
That's a dumb thing to say. It's not sharp enough. Do you recognize this red nose?
Nah, I don't.
Have you any idea what this is?
Please, take it away before I throw up.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
Pana kolega, czyli morderca lekarz, tak? To też być może jest taka ukryta sugestia dotycząca fachowości niektórych lekarzy.
I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
Nah, I haven't.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor.
Do you know what this is?
Is it self-raising flour?
No. Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
No różnie z tym bywa, bo czasem przy pobycie w szpitalu świat właśnie sobie o tobie przypomina i ktoś, z kim nie miałeś kontaktu, może cię odwiedzić niespodziewanie.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
No ale tak bywa różnie. Myślę, że w dwie strony to może działać, że albo nikt cię rzeczywiście nie odwiedza, albo nagle wszyscy.
Hello again. Do you know what this piece of equipment is called?
No, I don't.
Okej, jak George nie wie, no to może być problem z wykonaniem pomiaru ciśnienia.
According to the chart, this guy was called Croquet. The poor guy's temperature had been up and down like a white knuckle ride. No wonder he looked so sick. The graph showed a steady decline in his pulse rate and an increase in his blood pressure. It kind of shook me to see this guy's life reduced to a few jagged lines. The name on the chart was Boissy.
Boasy Clown.
The name on the chart was Sopmarsh. His temperature was normal, with little fluctuation either way.
Czy z pozostałymi możemy porozmawiać? No, z tym chyba nie. Jest nieprzytomny, zdaje się.
Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. Do you know what this tool is used for?
I'd rather not, Doctor. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Doesn't that belong to Boissy?
No. I found it in a sewer.
He's a clown, you know. You wouldn't think so to look at him now, would you?
Have you any idea what this is?
No, Doctor. I wouldn't even like to guess.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Really? He's a dead ringer for my bank manager. Of course, Mr. Soames hasn't got a scar, and he doesn't come from the Middle East. His hair's a lot grayer, too. Otherwise, it's just like him.
Remarkable.
Okej. Wygląda tak samo, tylko że zupełnie inaczej.
I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
I'm not really a nightclub man, Doctor. A game of whist and a glass of ginger wine is about my limit.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor. Is this some kind of test?
If it was, you would have failed. Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor. Is this...
If
Tak
it
to
was,
było przed chwilą.
do you know what this is?
It looks like plaster.
How did you know that?
I'm a plasterer.
What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
O!
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
To może po 3 latach dostaniesz diagnozę, skoro jeszcze jej nie masz.
What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
Tak, kobieta tutaj jak odkurzacz jak człowiek przed chwilą był traktowany. Także zamiana ról.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
See you later.
Dobra, mieliśmy zmierzyć komuś ciśnienie, ale my raczej tego nie zrobimy.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something.
Może on umie mierzyć ciśnienie?
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty.
I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean to get my hands dirty, you little
Aha.
mouse.
Shut up, Benoit.
Okay, sir.
Po tym, co powiedziała recepcjonistka, no to taki tekst. Można się zastanawiać, co rzeczywiście miał na myśli.
Follow me, Benoit.
I'm right behind you, sir.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
No to niech Benoit to
Hey,
zrobi.
Benoit.
Benoit.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Rene Croquet.
Okay.
Szkoda, że nie podaje wartości.
Benoit.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Oh, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
No, czyli nie zaniedbujemy swoich obowiązków. Leczymy nie swoimi rękami, badamy właściwie, ale obowiązki wykonujemy.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Oh, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Nurse Grendel.
Huh?
Go on, she'll enjoy it.
Well, okay.
Dr. Stobar,
Yeah?
I would appreciate it if you saved your jokes for the intern's restroom. This is a hospital ward, not a cabaret.
Oh, lighten up.
I heard that. Any more nonsense and I shall report you to Dr. Hagenmeyer.
Aha, czyli ma charakterek. No dobrze. Mam nadzieję, że pozwoli nam przejść dalej.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated.
No trochę chyba pomyłka, bo to powinien być komentarz do tamtej poprzedniej rzeźby, ale niech będzie.
He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's. I'm Dr. Stobart.
Bonjour, docteur.
What do you think this tool is used for?
Branding mice without bending down.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Don't get cute with me.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
It looks as if it has been used to wipe Satan's bottom.
I hate to say it, but you could be right. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Would you like to shake hands?
What for?
As a gesture of goodwill.
On reflection? No.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds Middle Eastern.
Are you Thomas Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No.
Then you won't be needing this.
No to chyba logiczne, że to nie on.
Do you recognize this gem?
It isn't an emerald, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Can you think of any sensible use for this plaster?
Sensible? No. Puerile? Yes. But you've probably thought of those already.
No to niektóre pytania George'a rzeczywiście są dość dziwne.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine talk, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
Wąglik. Sprawa z Wąglikiem nieco później, w latach 90. no też pewnie był Wąglik, natomiast nieco później taka głośna sprawa z tym Wąglikiem była. Już w latach chyba 2000, o ile pamiętam.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
To chyba się nie może zdecydować, czy to człowiek przebrany za niedźwiedzia, czy prawdziwy niedźwiedź.
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nut.
Zapamiętam. Dobra, wchodzimy do marketa.
Rather you than me, pal.
The bottles were full of liquid, with a little trail of bubbles rising to the surface. Marquet's slim hold on life was being measured, monitored, and maintained by the machinery on the rack. Marquet was either peacefully sleeping or placidly dead. Rousing him in the latter case would take a miracle. Marquet?
Yes. I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lahmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassin.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grand Master quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
What, you have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
He's more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location
upset.
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. Herr Hagenmeier was to hear that.
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Ah, there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter! The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window.
No, kto by się przebierał za lekarza? No, chwilę wcześniej zrobił to samo George. No, ale tak, przy George'u jakoś nie wzbudziło to podejrzeń. No, ale George powiedział, że jest nowy. A był jakiś nowy, którego może nie było w wykazie pracowników jeszcze, no i dlatego powiedzmy ten bratanek głównego szefa, wszystkich szefów uwierzył, że George jest lekarzem. Natomiast no, drugiego nowego nie było, więc tak to tłumaczę, że już wiedział, że tamten jest tym impostorem, nie? Tak czy inaczej dowiedzieliśmy się paru rzeczy. Taki przełomowy moment chyba, bo mamy trop, mamy nazwisko Klausner, który się udał do Syrii, więc mamy miejsce, Syria i nazwisko Klausner. Pojawia się asasyn, a jak wiadomo, ten Alamut to miejsce związane z asasynami. Być może jakoś się to łączy. No i mamy wielkiego mistrza, do którego mamy zanieść klejnot.
Have you ever heard of the Hashi-Ashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again.
No i mamy jeszcze jedną informację, że Flap i Guido zostali wynajęci do kradzieży trójnogu, który się znajduje w muzeum.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Can you think of any use for this?
That's a thing for measuring blood pressure, isn't it? What are you doing with that?
I picked it up in the hospital. It could be useful.
You ought to take it back. Don't you feel guilty?
No. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rosso or Sergeant Moo? Oh, but you're referring to Andre.
I'll let you work it out.
No chyba z André będziemy musieli porozmawiać, bo z inspektorem i mu już rozmawialiśmy całkiem niedawno. Także emocjonujące zakończenie odcinka, bo właśnie kończymy. Dziękuję serdecznie za uwagę, trzymajcie się, do usłyszenia.